Big news going on in the NBA. In case you haven't heard it, the Brooklyn Nets and Steve Nash have agreed to part ways after the Brooklyn Nets 2-5 start this season. Last night they came off a victory against the Indiana Pacers. They won the game, and Steve Nash is out as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Let me just read the statement from General Manager Sean Marks of the Brooklyn Nets. We want to thank Steve for everything he brought to our franchise over the past 2+ seasons. Since becoming head coach, Steve was faced with a number of unprecedented challenges, and we are sincerely grateful for his leadership, patience, and humility throughout his tenure. Personally, this was an immensely difficult decision. However, after much deliberation and evaluation of how the season has begun, we agreed that a change is necessary at this time. And Steve Nash, in his own separate statement, he thanked Sean Marks as well as ownership for, quote, amazing experience with many challenges that I'm incredibly grateful for. And now it's being reported, according to the Athletics, Charania, and Adrian Wojnarowski, that the Brooklyn Nets are looking at Ime Udoka, the suspended head coach of the Boston Celtics, because of the reports of him having consensual relationships with women, which was a violation of the protocol. This right here is big news. First of all, let's go with Steve Nash. Steve Nash was going to be fired. The Brooklyn Nets were probably going to move on from him anyway. Steve Nash couldn't emphasize or prioritize what the Brooklyn Nets needed, which was defense. Offensively, they have everything that they need with KD, Kyrie. I think he had to be let go because of, again, KD and Kyrie. They had a lot to do with Steve Nash's departure. And I just think, given the fact that the Brooklyn Nets had a lot of expectations for this season, and right now they're not living up to expectations. They're actually 2-5. In fact, you can make an argument that the New York Knicks are having a better season than them. And I just think with Ime Udoka, according to reports from Adrian Wojnarowski and Charania, they're likely about to hire him as their next head coach. I think this is a really excellent decision by Brooklyn because I think Ime Udoka can emphasize defense, something that the Brooklyn Nets desperately need. And I think he can try to do whatever he can to get the most out of Ben Simmons. I don't think he's going to do anything offensively with Ben Simmons. I don't think he's going to help him in that regard. But what he will emphasize Ben Simmons on is defense. I think Ben Simmons is very talented, but at the same time, as a basketball player, offensively, I think he's just highly flawed. I think he needs to work on his shooting. He clearly needs to work on other things as far as with his game. He definitely needs to see a sports psychologist, things like that. Brooklyn Nets, their problem is not offense, minus Ben Simmons. But what they definitely need is defense. And I think with him as the head coach, they will definitely emphasize and prioritize defense compared to in the past. And look, he will definitely get on Ben Simmons because if Ben Simmons is not giving me enough offensively, you're supposed to give me something on the defensive side. And that's something that Ben Simmons was known for throughout his time in Philadelphia and throughout his career. So I think he will definitely help the defense. I definitely think he will definitely put a lot more on Ben Simmons on defense, not offensively, because I don't really expect much from Ben Simmons, especially at this point. But I definitely think if they decide to hire Ime Udoka, because it's not finalized, it's not official yet, it's been reported, they're likely about to hire him. If they do, I think this is a good move for Brooklyn. I just think that Steve Nash wasn't the type of head coach that Brooklyn needed. Because, and even Kyrie Irving, he admitted on the podcast, the ETCS podcast with Kevin Durant, it's really one of those situations that the Nets really don't see themselves having a head coach. That's what Kyrie Irving actually said in the podcast. And I just don't think KD and Kyrie and other players on the Nets roster respect Steve Nash. They just don't respect them. And I just think that management and ownership are disappointed with what they're seeing from Steve Nash, and therefore they feel like, you know what, it's best to part ways with this guy. I feel sad for Steve Nash. I think he did the best job he possibly could. I just felt like for whatever reason he wasn't their guy for them, and I just felt like too many times he was kind of used as the scapegoat, in my opinion. But now that he's gone, now that it's officially over, and now that the Nets are looking at a new head coach, I believe it's going to be Ime Udoka. What do you think? Do you think Ime Udoka puts the Brooklyn Nets in the best position to compete for a championship? Because last year, you look at the job he did with the Boston Celtics. He took them to the NBA Finals. He definitely helped Boston become the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. He definitely helped them get past the Brooklyn Nets in the first round. They swept the Brooklyn Nets. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the conference semis and the Miami Heat, who had the number 1 seed in the conference finals. And definitely got a lot from Marcus Smart last year, who was the Defensive Player of the Year, reigning Defensive Player of the Year. And of course, with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Grant Williams, a lot of other great contributors for the Boston Celtics. So I think with Udoka, he's, like I said before, he's definitely going to emphasize defense. I think he's a player's coach. Players seem to like him. He comes from the Popovich coaching tree. I think he will do a very good job with Brooklyn. I think this is the type of coach that the Nets should desperately need. I'll definitely try to come up with some more basketball content, some more NBA content. The Nets, if I'm not mistaken, they're actually playing tonight against the Chicago Bulls on TNT. So we'll see what's going to happen with the Brooklyn Nets moving forward. But anyway, please, again, I'll definitely try to come up with as much more basketball, football content as possible. Aside from that, it's your boy Sports PSP in the building. Just enjoy the rest of your day. Stay tuned. Let me know for more sports stuff. And as usual, God bless.